the first wave. And you know what's going on now? I think that the young people, the people between 20 and 50, they just they're not in tune. I think these are the kind of people who probably don't listen to the news. A lot of them. There's a lot of people who won't listen to any news, and they probably don't. A lot of them don't even know what's going on. They see a bunch of people in a bar or wherever, the beach, and they just gather because that's what their whole life was designed about, partying. So I don't know. That seems to be the problem. The older people, their numbers seem to be still coming down. I think there's a lot less older people getting sick.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into politics here because you and I have different feelings on it. But why would they take it serious when your president is saying it's going to go away? This is going to be beautiful. It's going to go away. It's going to go away. So what do you expect people to do?
Well, it ain't going to go away. I'll just say that.
Well, absolutely, and it's just not the right thing to be saying. Okay, that's it. I'm not saying any more.
You clam up there, K1GMM.
I mean, he's a jerk when it comes to talking. The only good thing going for him is the opposition is not too good.
Anyway, so let's see. What did I do yesterday? I managed to cut the grass in between the rain. And then I put new lights up out on our front trees there. I try to find lights this time of year. I went to Big Lots, and I was able to find some stuff. But most people are already starting to bring in the Christmas stuff. I'm exaggerating, but I'm not too far away.
Oh, you're talking about Christmas stuff or solar lights?
Well, what I really wanted was some rope lights to wrap around these two trees that I got out front, because the ones I had were shot. You can't find those. They're not being stocked now. So I did find some multicolored lights that are kind of like Christmas lights. So I got those wrapped around the trees. They look pretty good.
Hey, good morning, Peter. What's going on, Captain? Good. Let me just do... might as well do this. I have it. Just a quick update for everybody. Okay, what are we on? We are on the 2nd of June, correct? Or July. June. You got it, Peter. You got it, buddy. You guys are going to have to excuse me because I'm still in a fog. Life Hacks, July 2nd. Good morning, everybody, whoever's watching on the stream. I know Peter's the only one that checked in. Chime in. I do have the chat running, and I will pay attention. Tell me what you guys have been doing. Tell me how the bands have been. I haven't been on during the day at all. Been a little busy. July 2nd. To make fluffy or white rice, add a teaspoon of lemon juice to the boiling water before you put the rice in the pot. I did not know that. I can't eat white rice because of sugar. Well, I can, but I choose not to, just to keep things under control. I don't even get this, the Daily Extra. Yeah, I don't even understand that one. I ain't even going to read it. Good Lord. So just a quick update. I made up a quick 4-1, and I haven't checked in with the guys yet, so made up a quick 4-1 yesterday. Jammed it on the loop, fed it with 81 feet of 450, and did not like it. Did not like it. You can't put a lot of power into that air wound balun. So it was SWR was unstable. Boy, it loaded all the way to 6 meters. Beautiful, but can't use it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, if I'm going to go to balun designs and spend $100 on a high power balun, like a 5 kilowatt, which would probably do it, or I'm going to leave it alone. I don't know. And also, I did another sweep of that antenna. It's tuned a little low, and it's probably because it's not high off the ground, and there's some interaction going on. It's tuned a little bit too low. The SWR starts to rise on this 80-meter loop right about where I'm at 3615. It's flatter than a board down below this, down the 35s. So I really don't want to change the matching section, so I may remove just a tiny bit of wire and start pruning it just to get it really tuned good. So update on that. Yesterday I went in for an eye exam. Hey Billy, how's it going? And lo and behold, I have no cataracts, no macular degeneration, and no what is the other one? There's 3 that they look for. You guys know what I'm talking about. And my vision has actually improved. I don't understand it. Distance vision is 20/20, and I picked up these, so I'm in good shape. Glaucoma, that's it. Glaucoma test, no glaucoma. Thanks, Peter. What is wrong with my brain? Well, you guys know what's wrong with it. I picked these glasses up, right, at the drugstore. They're really cool. Because I need them mostly for reading and mid-range distance, like the monitors. The 32s are they're about a foot further than my fingertips. And that range, like, I can see them, and I can see all the writing on them, but they're a little fuzzy. Hey, Glenn, how's it going? The writing, the details, a little fuzzy, right? So I picked these cheaters up, and they're a progressive cheater. Have you guys ever seen these things? They have like 3. They're like a progressive cheater lens. So they have like a close for reading at the bottom, and then the mid-range is like a little bit further, and then it has the upper range, which is more for like social distancing. That's the way I look at it. So the monitors actually sit in like the mid-range on the glasses. Anti-blue light lens. Are you talking about the glasses, Peter? Not sure. So yeah, these are freaking great, and they're not powerful. They're only a 1.25, but they're perfect. The only problem with the progressive type lens, right, is that you have to tilt your head sometimes. Like if I look through the top of them, it's a little fuzzy, but if I raise my head up and I look straight through the middle, the panels are sharp and crisp. So no, I didn't get them, Peter. Anti-blue light. I didn't even know they made such a thing. Cheaters are not cheap. Good Lord. But I got 2 pair for the price of 1, so that was very cool at Walgreens. They're nice. They're heavy. They're glass lenses and scratch resistant, you know. No plastic for me, baby. Anyways, You wanted an update? What's going on? There you go. All information that has no bearing on what kind of day you're going to have.
And I said, yeah, you're right. We should have poured it in a separate container first, and then did it. So just about got to throw out a whole gallon of distilled water.
Hey, Tom. Good morning, or good afternoon at this point. About rain. Wow. Yeah, you're deep in the afternoon probably, right? Bahrain, that's got to be, so it's 5 hours to Western Europe from here. They're 5 hours ahead, so you got to be, 6 or 7? Something like that? So you're early afternoon probably? I don't know. Talking out of my butt as usual.
In that distilled water.
No, it's pretty cheap to go buy. No,
check in with the goons.
I use it all the time, of course, for my CPAP machine, so I always have a jug on hand.
1317.
Quite a bit.
Gotcha.
Every night. Well, I didn't sleep good last night. I don't know. I just didn't. I was rolling around, and I got up and went to the bathroom. Normally I don't. And, I got up, and then I had trouble falling asleep, so I'll probably take a nap sometime today. Anyway, I don't know what the band is doing, but you're pretty loud and clear. This thing is working pretty good. Now, so you had another receiver going here.
Hope all is well there, Tom.
I have no way to know where it was. I could see that RX was grayed out when I first got on this morning. Were you already up on the radio?
Why is that?
Well, I wasn't on the radio. I got up about 10 after 5. By the way, this is W1JWC Friday. I got up about 10 after 5 and reconnected the antennas. I left them unconnected because I didn't know if anything was going to happen during the night. It's been crazy here with the weather. It's just sunny, nice, and then all of a sudden storms come, and you can watch it on the weather map.
Tom.
Just a swirl
Good for you, man.
From rotation, counterclockwise rotation.
Sometimes you got to do it, don't you? You just have to do it.
Of Massachusetts, and then back out. And so you could see exactly when we were going to get whacked. But I says, I'll just leave them off for the night. So I put them back on this morning, but I did not get on the radio. Back to you.
K1GMM.
Okay, I guess Steve is in there. Good morning, Steve. Okay. Yeah, I got up a little bit late. I got up around, I guess it was 5 after 5, and went in and spruced up a bit, and trussed up, and then by the time I got to the radio, it was about 20 after, and then I turned it on 3906, and bingo, those guys were right there, so I knew the antenna was connected. So I just tuned, and I remembered how to tune this time. Turning the tuner off, back on when I came back down to 3615. So anyway, 76 down here this morning, like it is every morning. Yesterday we got a break. We only got up, it seemed like in the high 80s. We didn't hit 90 yesterday. And it was because it was kind of a rainy day and not sunny. It makes a big difference. I think we lose about 10 degrees when the sun doesn't shine. We didn't get too much rain, but we did get some, which is good.
Make some noise on the microphone.
We're going to get some for the next couple of days, maybe now and then. So that's good, because my grass is starting to dry out.
Looks like it's good.
You sound pretty good, Steve. K1GMM, WT1B in the group.
Hey, good morning, Frank. Jerry? Yeah, good to hear you guys. Yeah, I've been, Jerry, the weather has been wacky, hasn't it? Yeah, yesterday wasn't bad. We had just a light shower here yesterday, I think it was. Day before, man, yeah, it was nuts, man. It just opened up buckets for 3 or 4 hours. What's today, Thursday? Yeah, Tuesday afternoon. Wow. And, yeah, I haven't been sleeping well either, finally. Excuse me, I've been up early, waking up at like 4 o'clock, 4:15 in the morning. I can't stand it. Because I've been going to bed, trying to go to bed later, see if I can shift my schedule. I just can't do it. I can't do it. This is a schedule from way back from back in the, oh, good Lord, from 89 all the way through late 90s. I was I had contracts that had to be done in a cleaning business early in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I was up early, and I've never been able to shift that schedule again to get that schedule, but altered. I'm trying, but last night, man, I just collapsed. When was I in bed? 8 o'clock. I just said, forget it, man. If I'm going to be up early, I gotta get some sleep. So, man, I woke up at 5 this morning. So that was a cracking night's sleep. Just about 10 after 5. So I was probably asleep at 10 or 8:15 maybe. So that's about 9 hours. I'll take that and run with it. Yeah, I got a couple things I'll tell you about on the next go. If you're interested, go ahead, Jerry. Good morning, K1GMM.
Yeah, good morning, Steve. W1JWC here.
Hey, Jimmy, how's it going,
bud? I went
bud?
to bed at 8 too, and I was sleeping pretty good. Of course, Terry always comes to bed a heck of a lot later than I do, like 11:30. And you know women, there's no quick come in the bedroom, turn the light off, and jump in bed, right? So that woke me up.
How you doing, Jimmy?
And then around 3 o'clock, the frickin' light keeps coming on and off in the room. Now, I put a motion detector.
Where are you at, Jimmy? You have a call sign?
When I get up out of
Just
bed,
curious as to
the
where
light
you're
goes
at,
automatically, which is
QTH-wise.
works really good. Last night, that kept going on and off all by itself.
Not that
And I says, I can't.
Not that I'll ever remember.
This
You're
new
going to have to
air
tell me
conditioner
multiple
we got
times.
has a automatic louver on it that swings up and down to disperse the air. It's going at a very slow rate. And I says, maybe it's got something to do with the change in air currents or something in the room. I don't know. So
Oh, Jimmy, you don't have to apologize. No, I'm just curious where you're from and stuff.
It never came back on again. So I don't know if it's related to that or not, but kind of annoying when you're trying to sleep and all of a sudden you hear a click and the light's on. Back to you there, Steve.
Oh, gosh. Dude, if that happened, in my room, first of all, I need it pitch dark. I don't like even any light, like we leave it's not really a night light. It's a low power light out in the living room down the hall. And that does get in there. So I got to have the door, not closed. I don't close it all the way, but if I see any light, I wake up. Forget it, man. Yeah, I'd be up all night, man. I wouldn't be able to go back to sleep. So I could never cope with that, Jerry. I would be up. That's the thing. I don't turn, if I have to get up to do the thing in the middle of the night, and I don't even turn the lights on. I stumble in the dark, leave the lights off, and crawl back into bed, because if my brain gets going, it's all done, man. I'm up for the rest of the night. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I hear you. I got to be careful I don't trip. And we got a black lab. He's about 85 pounds, and you never know where he's going to be laying. He's either on the floor, or he's up in the bed, and I've stumbled over him a couple times before I put this light in.
8 Papa 6 Delta Yankee. Wow.
Switch. So I figured, well, at least this way, I get up out of bed, the light comes on, I get up to the door, I can just hit the button, turn the light off, so it doesn't disturb Terry. And then when I get done going to the bathroom, I come in the room, the light comes on, and I just tap it. And before I tap it off, I can look and see if the floor is clear, and then get back into bed. So it works out really good, except for when it goes on and off all by itself. So anyway, after I stopped those louvers from automatically rotating, the problem seemed to go away. So I guess I'll just have to make it a point to leave those things off.
ACO.
Oh, goodness. There he is. Go ahead, Angelo. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jerry. Good morning, Frank. I don't know who else in there. I know Steve was in there. Good morning. Good morning to all. I hope everybody can hear me this morning.
Oh, yeah, you're coming in loud
Hey,
and
good
clear.
morning, Greg.
Okay. So this thing still sounds okay?
Greg, the Master Blaster of the UK.
Jerry, this morning?
Sounds fine to me. Maybe a little overdrive. I don't know. What are you hearing, Steve?
Yeah. Let me hold on. I took the exciter out and flattened things out because I know Angelo has a hard time hearing me when I'm thumping away here. Yeah, Angelo. Sounds like a little overmodulated there, going into the crunch zone. But good copy. Go ahead.
Okay, I backed off a bit. It's still hard. Wow. Yeah, I'm looking at this thing here. There we go. That's about where it should be. That's better right there, right?
Yeah, your signal level dropped though, so maybe that's not. It might be just a characteristic of the compression, are you running compression, Angelo?
I got some there, not a lot, right? I'm using that box there, right? So, and it seems like, I should be okay there now. I try to get it in between on the flex here, between the -10 and the 0 here, and it's pretty much in the center.
Yeah, go ahead, Jerry, because you understand those flexes a lot better than I do. Maybe you could help. It's good, Angelo. You were louder. It was driving better when you first came in because your signal dropped to about an S8, S9, which is perfectly readable. The band's quiet. But Jerry or Frank, you guys go ahead. See if you can maybe help Angelo do a tweak. K1GMM.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Well, I'll tell you, I've been. It took me a while to figure this flex out, and when you set the microphone level, and then you turn the equalizer on and equalize.
Theo, good morning, Captain.
Not reported. You're adding gain.
Hey, Gareth.
Between the microphone set level and the modulator, and you can easily think that your level is okay, but you go into the distortion range because you added gain with the equalizer. So I found the best way to use that equalizer on the flex is to set everything below 0. Like set everything flat at -5, and then equalize above and below that point. And then you set your mic gain so that you're normally around...
Jimmy, okay.
I try to shoot for -5.
Okay, Jimmy, you have a good day if you're bailing out. 7-3, bud. Thanks for jumping in.
And that seems to work pretty good. But if you got a lot of EQ going on with the flex equalizer, you can easily drive yourself into distortion. I would assume you probably got that off, right?
I'm up early, Gareth. Every morning.
The external boxes, right?
Sounds okay there. That doesn't sound distorted there now, does it?
No, that sounds good right there.
Yeah, sometimes I creep up, like.
Yeah, what is it? 6:30. 6:30 in the morning.
On the, on the meter there, on the flex, right? I always have it on all the time, right? So I can always monitor all the time, right?
Well, that's one of my other pet peeves about the 6000 radio versus the Flex 5000 radio. And I've said this before, the 5000 had a audio leveler that you could set and hold your mic gain pretty constant with respect to how close you were to it. The 6000 series is extremely sensitive to where you are with position to that mic. You could set your level and take your headphones off, put them back on again, and have that microphone a half inch different, and you'll be overdriving.
Hey, Bull. Good morning. Still morning over there. Yeah, Tim, how you been? Good morning, Vietnam. It's about the way I feel, man.
Yeah, that sounds real good there.
Poking my head out of the bunker.
I don't know why, though. Every time, Jerry, do you find that on yours?
Yeah, we're good, Tim.
You have to adjust the mic on the flex all the time. Somehow it moves, If I leave it at 38, sometimes I'll find it at 40 or 39, Do you have the same thing?
Yeah, I just said that. It's very sensitive to where you are with respect to the microphone. There's no like AGC on the microphone loop where the Flex 5000 had that. It had a leveler that would kind of hold your mic level constant.
Yeah, okay. All right, very good. Sounds okay to you, Frank?
Frank stepped away. He sent me a text. I'll throw it back to Steve.
Yeah. No, it sounds fine, Angelo. Sounds good. Yeah, what do you got planned? What do you got? Quick comment. You made me remember I was running the 73, playing with it last night, the 7300, and the 7300 ALC is a little wonky. It seems like every single time that I boot that radio up, the mic gain, the ALC, is in a different place. Also, what's really interesting is the Anon doesn't behave like this, but like you said, Jerry, it's got a leveler on it, which is engaged. And if I go to a different band, right, depending on the antennas, I have to adjust the ALC. Now, what the flippin' heck, man? What is the deal with that? I'll look down, I'll go from like this band, I'll go up to 20 meters, and I'll throw a couple calls out, and I happen to look down at the ALC, and the thing's like, 3 or 4 red bars OTT. So I have to roll it back a little bit, which I do with the external gear, if I'm on the headset and stuff. And I don't know. It's always been like that. It's very odd. And I understand that, Jerry, about what you said about the leveler. That's a nice feature, isn't it? Pretty much you don't have to worry about anything except, the proximity effect of the microphone. But no matter how close you get to it, it may alter the sound, the tone of it, but it's not going to pump the ALC into the red. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Angelo. K1GMM.
Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah, I don't know about my 7300. I haven't been.
Yeah, I'm on the loop, Tim.
The Flex here, and on the 7300, I don't have nothing, just a PR40 microphone.
If you guys are going to be in here for a bit, I'll go back over what I talked about with the what I found yesterday with the loop, because I covered that early.
The 7300. Here I'm using that W2IHY box, so I don't know. Still, sometimes it still hits hard. I don't know if it's me, just my voice or whatever, because if I turn now the mic gain, I got the mic gain. Okay, there, I got it. Even though it's still down, well, it's not too bad there now. Now I think I got it there now.
Boy.
Maybe I have to back it off there. Now I backed it off there. So now, if I back it up there and I turn that up, so now I'm right on -10. See, on the output level. See the output level. So if the output level's down, then on the Flex you have to. Let me see. I have to go up to about 40 to bring it back up to where it was. But okay, I'll leave it like this for a bit now and just see how that is. That sounds okay there now. I just turned everything down just a bit there. Does that still sound okay to you, Steve?
That cleaned it. I heard it right away. I don't know what you think, Jerry. That cleaned it up big time. It's pretty much crystal clear and very smooth. Yeah, whatever you did, you're going in the right direction. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, like I said on mine, I really can't go much above -5 from the compression.
Hey, Chris.
Scale. It's 0 to -25 dB, and if you take the Flex higher than -5, especially if you're adding gain with the Flex equalizer, you'll get distortion. So I don't know. Angelo, you sounded very clean the last time, but just out of curiosity, are you using the Flex equalizer?
Yeah, it's engaged, yeah.
And what's the position of your sliders? Are they mostly above 0 or below?
Hang on, let me see here. Okay, hang on.
WT1B back.
Frankie.
Go get your own radio.
Okay. Yeah, they're just
Jerry, he's a bust ass, man. He busted my balls the other day. Something wicked. Totally got me.
Yeah, zero's okay, but even below zero is better. Just shift your whole reference level like 5 dB below zero, and then you can compensate for it with the mic gain. But if you have that if you have that equalizer at zero or any of the sliders above zero, it's very easy to get into the distortion range, even with 5 dB of compression.
Okay. Tell me, does that make any difference there now? Because I disabled the EQ on the Flex now. Any difference?
It sounds really clean to me. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, it's much, much better than when you came in. When you first came in, Angelo, you know what it reminded me of? Reminded me of the typical Yaesu that's pushed into just overmodulated. I know you've heard a lot of Yaesu. We all have. If they're not run correctly, man, they can just, get a little gnarly sounding. No, you're going in the right direction for sure. Let me take a little stand. Frank's back, so let me take a little standby here. And I'm pushing a stream, so there's something I want to share, and I'll be right back. Go ahead, Frank. Pick it up. K1GMM.
Okay, let me see. WT1B. I took and reduced my levels here a little bit. Let me compensate.
Okay.
Hello, testing 1, 2. Move it.
Okay, so there's a bunch of guys that jumped in after the beginning of the stream. So this is just a rag chew. This is nothing major. This is my usual morning routine. So here's what I found. So I wish I had it with me. I built a bunch of these, and they work well for low power, but you cannot throw a lot of power. Like, I wouldn't throw more than a couple 100 watts into these things. I used 12 gauge wire, and I built an air wound 4-to-1 Ballon. And I decided, well, I'll try it on the loop. So I grabbed the 450 ohm, got about 81 feet of 450, jammed it onto the loop yesterday, terminated it into a 4-to-1, and jacked a short run of coax into the switch, which comes, out of the southeast corner into the shack here. And man, that I think the loop was may have been a tad short, maybe 8 feet, 10 feet short. But that being said, it was under a 2-to-1. It was flat on 80, which is understandable. 40, it was still slightly under a 2-to-1 on 40. But that harmonic, 20, it was flatter than a pancake. 30 meters was, forget 30 meters. That was off the charts, off the scale. That was 3-to-1 or more, which would probably load. I could load it, but it's not going to be worth a crap. So 20's flat, 17, 15, and 10 under a 2-to-1, and I checked it on 6, and it was almost flat, probably about a 1.2, 1.3-to-1 at 51.25, and then it rose sharply heading up into the FT8 realm. And it loaded beautiful on the 7300. I just hit the tune button, bang, it snapped it in within just a few seconds, which is a bummer. Then I went and I put the amp on. I threw about 500 into it, and things got ugly. SWR spiked, just jumped, just unstable, jumped to about a 1.5 to between a 1.5 and a 2-to-1. And I've seen that before on these air wounds. You cannot push a lot of power into those things. 100 watts, it was stable. It was great. But what else was I going to tell you guys? I think that's it. Oh, yeah. So what I'm debating on, the two things. What I'm debating on is, should I order Ballon Designs builds just killer ballons. Some of the best on the market. They're proprietary in what they do. They're very, very good, and they're high power. So like a 5 kW Ballon 4-to-1 will run me about $95. Yeah, Tim. 30's just, it's a freak show of band, isn't it? To get it, you're really better off just running a resonant antenna. I don't know, Chris. That's what I'm wondering. The 450, it's weird because a guy I was listening to, remember, I don't know if you guys saw this on the previous stream. A guy I was listening to on 40 meters. This was the day that I pushed that last stream with the loop stream. He was running almost the identical antenna I have, except he was using 280 feet of wire. 280 feet, I'm at 272, which, by the way, it's a little too long, and I think it has to do with height, because usually when you bring the antenna down, you have to shorten it. Closer to the ground it gets, the impedance affects the impedance. So if you cut even a dipole, I've seen resonant mathematically for optimum height. If you drop that, towards the ground, or you have trees, which I have close by, it'll detune it, and you usually have to prune a little bit of wire. So I think I'm a little long for a resonant antenna. I swept it again, and it's resonant in like the 35 to 36 realm, and right where I'm at, 3615, it starts to go up, which is about a 1.2, 1.3 to 1. And then it goes up sharply into the top end of the band. Stateside here, see, I'm a little off on resonance. I really need to get in there and start taking off some wire until I can move it up into, because I do spend time up above 3900. Stateside here, we can go from, God, the band is huge. Phone portion is 3600 to just under 4. So, I need to deal with that. So, anyways, I'm listening to this guy, and he's running 180 foot square loop, 8 feet longer than what I have. He's got 450 on it with a 4-to-1. He's worked 200 countries on 80, 40, 30, and 20. On that one antenna. Now, granted, he's in a good QTH. He's in a good spot. But still, that's pretty flipping good, man. Confirmed. That's pretty freaking amazing. So, I don't know. That's why I decided, I'll try the 450. I always thought that you really didn't want to run that. 450 on something, because the impedance, it doesn't really make any sense to me. Most guys run like 300 on there. Yeah, Tim. Yeah, so you run 450. Yeah, I've never dealt with these, trying to deal with a loop before, trying to push it to multiband these things. I know the length of ladder line is critical. Well, it's not ultra critical, but there is certain lengths. There are certain lengths that just work better. So you use 450. Okay, the other thing, this is interesting. I keep forgetting I have to put this link in. Now, most guys do not match a loop the way I match it. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody that matches a loop the way I match it. The reason why I match it the way I do, two reasons. One, it's a monobander, and I'm looking for maximum firepower on that band, right? I found an article by Seebeck, and I need to post that in that video. So later on today, go back to that video I posted on the loop, and I'll have a link there in the description. It's a fantastic write-up. And that will help you understand why I match these loops with a quarter wavelength of 75 ohm coax. It's an interesting read. It's also got some great information on adding a reflector underneath. I may still do it just for giggles, but I don't think I'm going to, because according to that article, first of all, it's a handful. It takes a lot of tuning to get maximum gain out of it. Oh, bull. So you do it that way too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, most people are like, ooh, why are you doing it that way? No, I never did, Peter. I never tried something like that. See, there's so many different combinations. Freaking mental. I don't have time for all this. Actually, I don't have the energy for it. Yeah, but the gain generated by a direct match, tuning the antenna with a perfect match for the band you're operating on, especially a full wave loop on 80 meters with quarter wavelength of 75 ohm. When you read that article, you'll understand if you're not familiar with that stuff. It's cheap, and it's a very much more effective than any other method from what I was able to gather. Now the reflector, unless you really know what you're doing, you spend a lot of time tuning it. I mean, you're looking at 0.3 dB of gain, if my memory serves me right. That's completely a third of a dB. 6 dB for 1S unit. So what the heck is, or no, is it 3 dB? Oh my God, I can't even think this morning, but 0.3 dB of gain, going through all that work, I still may do it just for shiznicks and figgles, but how the heck did you get that to work, Bull? You know what I tried to do? I tried to do that in the middle of the 40-meter parasitic array. Now, I know a parasitic array, a beam type setup, is a little trickier. I could never get it to work right, man. It was a disaster. There was too much coupling, and they were all monoband loops. I tried to stick a 20-meter set of loops inside the 40-meter loops. Yeah, that didn't end well. That was a freaking mess. So anyways, let me jump back in with those guys. I think that's everything that I was thinking of. But that Seebeck article, I remember running into that, and that was the reason why I do what I do with like single element loops. I was reading that, I thought, okay. And that was like 5 years ago, I think I read that or something.
I hear you. I certainly can understand that, and Carrie and Ed have been really good as far as the social distancing, but to get here they got to get a rental car, right? So how do you know how clean that rental car is, right? Hopefully they really sanitize these things, but they'll be sitting in that car for 3 hours or so coming up here, so you never know.
I'll tell you what, man, I'd be wiping every single thing down inside that, and even the outside handles and everything. I wouldn't trust anybody.
Exactly, that's the way I feel.
It really ought to come. I think they have these sprays, and what's going on with this light? They have a light they can shine in and kill stuff. Are they using anything like that?
I don't know if it's effective on it. You mean like a ultraviolet?
Yeah, I've heard some scuttlebutt about it, and but I don't know if they're using it or not. But you see on TV. I mean, you see the Chinese and they're going around spraying all the airports and stuff. That's probably what they ought to do with these rental cars. Yeah, you can wipe, but you ain't going to get everything. You're not going to get everything in there. So I think you need some spraying. Go ahead, Steve.
I don't know, man. I think if you do, you'd have to use I know this is a little garish, and it's probably not good for you, but there's a certain type of K1GMM. There's a certain type of dry gas. I use an isopropyl dry gas, 70-30 mix in a Ziploc bag with a rag. And the catch is you don't want it to dry too fast. It has to actually sit on the surface for a while. I do everything, man. I keep that little bag with me. Take a little measuring cup, 70% alcohol, 30% water, and that bag goes with me everywhere I go. I do the key before I get anything that I touch in a store, including merchandise. It doesn't matter. Carriage, when I come out, the first thing I grab is the bag. If you saw what I go through, people look at me like I'm out of my mind. Seriously, but I went to the dentist, and he's like, oh yeah, we were talking about it. He says, he's like, after you come in here, this place is wiped down, and I mean wiped down. And it has to sit. They have all these special type of air purifiers running. The room has to sit for an hour. So the air is completely exchanged in the room. They're all wearing N95s in there and everything, of course, right? So, I wipe the key down. I don't even, I have to get the bags out. Put the stuff in the car. The bags are infected. I open the door first, put the bags in. I pop the trunk with a key. I get in. It's freaking crazy. Once the bags are in, I close it, grab my little baggie. I wipe everything down, wipe the outside door handle down. I don't touch anything in the car until my hands are sanitized. Nothing. I've caught myself a couple times getting into the car because I'm starting to get complacent, which is really bad. I get into the car and I grab that, I forgot. So I'm like, oh crap, I got to wipe down the car. So I have to wipe down the handle, wipe down the key, wipe down the shifter, wipe down the stereo controls, wipe down the steering wheel. Every single thing that I touch gets sanitized. But you have to do it, man. You bring anything that comes into this house, onto this property is sanitized. This stuff can live for like 72 hours on cardboard. Mail. It's crazy. Go ahead, Jerry. K1GMM.
Yeah, I try to do the same thing. I'm very, very careful. It's too bad we couldn't see this thing. But, Frank and I were talking about this a little earlier, is unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are totally ignoring any of this. And as long as they continue to do that, they put us in a dangerous situation.
That's exactly right. Like I've been saying, this thing isn't the killer. Narcissism is. And ignorance, but you can't take anything for granted. And, I don't know if you guys know, I know he's a little rough for you guys, but Vic DiBitetto, oh my gosh, this guy is hilarious. But it's true. He said if everybody would just wear a mask, wear a face covering to catch the junk coming out of your yapper, and sanitize your hands constantly, 2 weeks, this would be over. It would be over. It'd be done. Probably 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Theoretically, from start to finish, it would take probably a month. You know what I mean? Because there's current infections. So, and then a 2-week period for it to incubate and maybe show up 7 to 10 days, 7 to 14 days, something like that. But it's true. It's true. If everybody would just behave themselves, sanitize their hands constantly, wear a face covering when they're around people, this whole thing would go away. But no, people are too freaking stupid. Go ahead, Frank. K1GMM.
Yeah, probably a lot of WT would be probably a lot of truth in that. I don't know how much of an uptick we're seeing as a result of the protest. They were a couple of weeks ago, so this is about the time where that should be kicking in.
Hey, Sid. What's up, dude?
Interested in see what the stats will be on that. I guess I'm not as careful as you guys. I always wash my hands. I always wear a mask, but I don't know how you're gonna wash the car. I guess you can wash the car down. I have cloth seats. I don't know how you're gonna wash cloth seats. Does the virus get into the seat and go down below the cover, below the surface?
Yeah, it's true,
Who knows?
Chris.
I don't know. I don't know. I guess you could scrub yourself to death. What I noticed? I usually go to do my shopping at Walmart right across the street.
It's true, Chris.
Shop,
people are so stupid.
And I usually use the self-checkout.
They don't understand how this thing is spreading.
Anybody in there? There's one gal in there who's watching all the checkouts. There's probably there's 2 different stations in this.
Listen
Walmart.
to what I say to these guys.
You
guys probably know this, but I'm gonna
registers.
I'm gonna tell Frank and Jerry what I found.
Down after everybody goes through.
Selfish. That's narcissism. Exactly, Chris. That's what's killing people. They don't freaking care.
I go out in the car. The first thing I do is wipe my hands, and but you got the bags that have been dragged across the scanners, and you got all the food, and you got, of course, the vegetables that are all out in midair. None of them are wrapped. I don't know. So far, we haven't had an issue. I was telling Tom earlier I was on 2 meters, and I'm going tomorrow to get to donate blood at the bloodmobile. You have to make an appointment these days. I remember when you could, they were screaming and begging you to walk in and just give blood. Now you got to make an appointment. First of all, I guess there's two reasons. Obviously, they don't want a bunch of people in there inside the trailer. They want one person at a time, or I don't know if it's going to be 1 or 2. I'll find out tomorrow. And the other thing they're doing down here is they're giving the free antibody test with all donations. So that's probably why they're lined up. Everybody's getting
in Croatia. Nobody's
blood. So
it's
so
just
they're going to take that antibody test now. I hear pros and cons about the accuracy of it, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll get that tomorrow, and I think it takes about 2 days.
I got a couple things I need to share with these guys, which is really interesting.
W1KWC, WT1B.
Yeah. Well, I think proper hygiene here is really important. The mask and washing the hands as often as you can. Now, before this whole COVID thing happened, I would never very seldom would wash my hands, sanitize them after I come out of a store or anything like that. That's probably how we catch most of our colds when you think about it.
Yep.
I always had a bottle of sanitizer in the car because you always get the clerk that sneezes as she's handing you your change back,
God.
So I would go out to the car and immediately wash my hands down after I handled the money. But even money in general, just think about handling dollar bills, the cash and dollars and all that stuff before COVID. I mean, I used to handle all that stuff and never routinely wash my hands down.
Yep.
So, I think going forward, I think after this passes, whenever and if, I will change my habits and do that from now on. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. I've mentioned this a lot. It's changed everything, hasn't it, guys? Everything's changed. The way I behave in public. I have to say, Vermont as a whole, society-wise, is a very socially responsible state. The companies here, like my wife's company, Vermont Country Store, they saw this coming, and they prepared. Like a lot of the buyers, they travel all over the world. Lisa's traveled all over the country, and with her, she's an assistant buyer, and she's traveled with her boss, you know. And if you go out of the country, and now if you even go out of the state, you're not allowed back to work for 14 days, and you have to get tested. It's mandatory. Now it's mandatory that you get tested, and they put in the policy immediately. This is before they even closed the state down. They saw it coming. They're, you know, and that's why I think us in Montana, I think we're at the bottom. And we had no cases yesterday, 0. We've had little pockets of 5. We had one outbreak in Essex up north that was like, I don't know, they ended up with 80 or 90 cases, but they weren't social distancing. They weren't protecting themselves or protecting other people by wearing a face covering. Large groups, large gatherings, large groups of people, you know, that type of thing. So you'd get an outbreak, and that was, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks maybe, or a month ago. But it's been very, very quiet here, and the only cases that are really happening here are people coming in from out of state that's bringing it in, and they're not. And like Bennington, you can't even be in public without a face covering. Manchester's the same way. Rutland doesn't have that policy in place, but a couple of things I wanted to mention. Let me see if I can get that. I'll tell you this story first. And this is 2 months ago. About 2 months ago, I'm standing in the living room, and I'm about, I would say, 8 feet away from Lisa. And she's sitting on the couch, and the sun was coming in through the picture window. Most people, I actually have a ham radio friend of mine that doesn't believe me. He says, well, you know, I'll take your word for it. I'm like, what are you, freaking dumb? Just, people are so stupid. I said, try it. You won't even believe what you see. We're standing there talking to each other in a normal tone of voice, and the sunlight was coming over the mountain up out of the east, and it comes in that picture window. It comes screaming in there. And I'm watching her talk, and you would not believe the fine particles coming out of her mouth just under normal speech. It was unbelievable. The large particles I could see with my eyes were falling to the floor, I would say maybe 2 feet away. The other particles were just flying into the air and dissipating, and I couldn't tell if they were going to the floor or they were just going into the air. Crazy. People don't understand how important covering your mouth is, covering your nose and mouth, you know, because even just breathing, they call it shedding. And I had a friend of mine explain this to me. Just your breath sheds this stuff. And these particles, the particles you can't see, which are actually the virus is attached to, can travel up to 200 feet. Most people aren't telling you that. And the reason why I know that is because Fred, W1FJF, he runs a manufacturing plant in Tennessee. And he designs and builds all of the barrels for these crazy machine guns that these fighters and Apaches and stuff like that run. The barrels for the machine guns, the cannons and stuff like that. He's the contractor that does his stuff, and he does a lot of work, other work with Chinese manufacturers, stuff like that, and he's connected with China as well. And so he gets a lot of information from China, and that's and he was explaining that to me. He's like, oh yeah, he says this is more dangerous than people realize. You know, just because you're 6 feet away from someone, if they're not wearing a mask and you're not wearing an N95, even your eyes, he said, if you want to really protect yourself, go get yourself a set of protective goggles that go around your because it'll enter your eyes. And he said, if the wind's blowing, you could be downstream like 200 feet and it'll be on you. It's crazy, man. You know, people, I see them all the time walking around. They're supposed to have face coverings on and they don't have them. And that's just blatant narcissism. They don't care if they kill someone. And this is the last thing I was going to say. In that outbreak in Essex, you guys are going to love this. every person that tested positive for that entire group, only 1 in 5 showed symptoms. That's the point. That is the point. You're carrying it, you're spreading it, and you may never show a symptom. And that's the despicable part of that behavior. Sorry about the long over. Go ahead, Frank. K1GMM.
WT1B. Yeah, it kind of says that the procedure that they're using now really is kind of bogus as far as going into these doctors' offices and down here, I guess everywhere. They take a forehead thermometer and they read your temperature.
Yep.
Says, all right, you're good to go. Well, if it's only 20% are showing the symptoms, that's boy, I tell you, it's scary. It brings back some memories here, back on the early days here, March, April, when remember when they were the CDC COVID-19 task force was on television every day. I can remember Fauci saying, "You don't need to wear a mask if you don't show the symptoms." It just tells you how little they knew. And
Bull. The mapping program is an APRS IS 32, APRS IS 32. That is an APRS iGate running I have here. It's running on the computer. And I use a 2-meter radio with the audio fed to the computer with the AGW packet engine as a TNC. And so it's grabbing packets from digipeters and other stuff all from everywhere around there. And it'll show you in real time when you get a little tropo, you'll see a packet grabbed from way up in Canada or 300, 400, 500 miles away.
80% of the people in this country is going to get some form of it at one point in time. They better come up with a vaccine pretty good. Go ahead, Jerry. WT1B.
Frank, you're using my radio right now. Do you have a mask on?
Absolutely.
Okay, I feel better. No, you're absolutely right. That's what they were saying up front when this whole thing started. In fact, they were saying a mask isn't going to help you. I remember hearing that. But they learned as time went on. And I think when you look back at the early time of when this happened in March, things were said, things were wrong. I don't know if you can really hold people accountable for that because people were learning, and they were learning really quick. Now let's jump ahead now to July, okay? Now we know. We know a lot of things.
You're welcome, Bull.
And to not be wearing a mask, having large groups together, a rally or something like that is absolutely stupidity. You shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I have... Did you hear, when was the big rally that Trump had? It was last week, right? Was it a week ago? So we need to wait, 7 to 10 days. So probably by what? The beginning, when was it? Beginning of next week? When was the rally he had? So we need to wait about 2 weeks. Did you see that? What was there? Over 100,000 people in that place? I'm really curious, and they're having a major outbreak, spike, a second wave. Tulsa, yes, Sid, in Tulsa. Tulsa was in trouble there before the rally even started. I heard. But you can't believe everything on the media. They overhype and they try. They're a bunch of idiots. That's why I can't watch the news. I really can't. Liberal media is just unfreaking real right now. Are they talking about that at all? I've been very curious if we're going to see like a massive outbreak from that, that rally Trump had. Go ahead, Frank.
Well, I don't think that they had the full house there. I thought the numbers were around 30,000 or less or something. I thought there were some empty seats and stuff, that they had a lot of people coming, people signed up on purpose not to come. to make him look bad. I don't know. I haven't been paying too much attention. But, here's a point I want to make. Let's look at the last 1,000 years of epidemics, right? Haven't we learned anything? I mean, we finally just learned in this epidemic. We went through the Spanish flu that killed millions of people. And I saw a documentary, a real neat documentary. It's on, if you got a Roku stick, you go to the Daily Documentary channel, which is a freebie. And there's a great documentary on the Spanish flu. And they knew nothing about masks, but they started wearing masks back then. And you could see them. They finally figured this thing out after millions of people dying. We haven't learned anything in the last 1,000 years. We just found now that, okay, it's a good idea to wear a mask. I tell you, you got a lot of people in power that are not paying attention. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, look at the graphs of Europe versus us. They peaked a little bit before us, but went down and stayed down. We peaked shortly after, went down, and we're climbing like a rocket.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think the second wave is going to be worse than the first time around.
Americans really. What is that movie, Men in Black? Remember the first Men in Black where, let me make sure I got it. Yeah, the first Men in Black where Tommy Lee Jones is sitting on the bench with, what's his name there? Jay. What he became, Jay. And he was debating on whether he was going to join Men in Black. And Tommy Lee Jones, or what's his name, says something like, people are smart. They can handle the truth or something like that. He says, no, people are, an individual is smart. People are dumb. It was something like that. Like as a collective, they're panicky. I don't know. You remember that line? That is so true. You know what I mean? Americans are just stupid. I hate to say it, but as a collective, as a societal collective, I mean, what a bunch of morons we are. I just don't understand how we got to where we are, where we were, where we are today, being that dumb, dumber than a fence post.
I guess nobody wants to admit that there's a problem. How many people do you know, well, mostly men, don't want to go see a doctor because the doctor will tell them what's wrong with them? I mean, how stupid is that, Steve?
See, I'm one of them. I dread it. I hate it. I will still go to the doctor. You know what I'm saying? But no, I'm guilty. I can say stuff like that because I'm guilty of things like that. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, I guess I'm just the opposite. I'm my own advocate. Anything that goes wrong, I go online, I check it out, and I've actually researched the correct doctor to see. Down here when I had a
that's hilarious, man.
An arm from the shoulder to my fingertips that had it was like a toothache 24/7, and I figured I did a study on it. And I said it had to be bone spurs up in my neck. And it was, and I actually did a search and found like the doctor that all doctors say he's the best doctor. I found him up in Gainesville, Florida. So I had to drive like 50 miles for the visits and get operated on up there. But I took it upon myself to try to find the best, what I thought at least, the best doctor for my case and get it done properly. And this guy was a nut. I mean, he was a super clean. He had his own operating bed. He wouldn't let anybody, gurney. He wouldn't let any other doctor use it. Told you to take a shower before you went up there, and then he made you take another shower while you're up there before the operation, and everything was super clean. And those are the kind of things you want to look for. But a lot of hospitals, boy, a lot of problems in hospitals. They say a lot of people die in hospitals just because of the procedure. Anyway, boy, we're really on this subject here for a long time. W1JWC in a group, WT1B.
K1E.
Hey, K1E, I got one for you. Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I've been listening for a while. And a lot of moments of truth in there. So I'll say good morning to everyone, and go ahead. I'll let you pick it up and catch it next time around. KU1E.
I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jerry. Get Paul in the loop here. Maybe he can derail us. Go ahead.
Yeah. I hate going to the doctor too, but you have to. And a lot of people don't go,
I forgot what I was going to tell him. It's kind of
get
important.
into trouble. I go at least twice a year as a routine, and then of course if anything pops up, I go in between. So you don't want to put anything off. Chuckling here because Steve and Paul, we used to have a group leader that we worked for. When this guy sneezed, I mean, you could swear that the office walls were going to come down. He would sneeze so loud. Frank, aren't you glad you're not hanging around with Louie right now?
Oh my God! Yeah, you wouldn't believe this. We had an office that had what, I don't know, 50, 60 people in it, Jerry. Maybe it wasn't that much. And the walls were they were portable walls that were like you could look over them, so they were probably 5 feet high. We always swore that we were going to take and unhinge his walls, and then we were going to hook ropes on him and wait for him to sneeze and pull all his walls down. Remember that, Jerry?
I know. We should have done that. That would have been classic.
That's
funny.
funny.
Just before I got sick and stopped working, they started going through the offices and taking down all the partitions. And between your desk and the guy next to you was a 1 foot wall, if that. They wanted an open sea of people. Boy, I bet you that's not going over too big right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I wonder if they're rethinking that and putting at least plexiglass up, but I would think that you should go back to the old walls. Anyway, come on in, Paul. How you doing this morning? KU1E, WT1B.
Yep, doing fine. And been copying the mail, as they call it, and getting all the information. And a lot of the things are true about the doctors and everything else. But I think Frank can verify this. Down in Florida, and they've got some real good doctors, but there's a bunch down there. And you know what? I'm going to say it, and I believe it. And a lot of people, if you bring this up, they analyze it, and he says, I think you're right, because of all the seniors. They've got them going to the doctors a minimum of 3 times a week, one doctor or another.
What?
And you hear, you go, this certain ailment, and Mary and I can say, I bet you they went for this test, and they went for that test, and they did this, and it's, and some of it may be needed, but majority of it, they got that insurance and everything, and it's just a big money pit. And you know what? 2 years later, or whatever, or they're still going, and you're saying, where's the results? It's crazy down there, but you do have to see a doctor, and they do some great things. Well, last year, once I got the right doctor, I have to say they saved my life. So I'm not, blinking at all, but there are pots or areas that it's scary down there. And it's almost like a social hour for these people to get out and go and see their friends at the doctors. My dad used to say that years ago. There used to be a place where the guys up here, Hillcrest Hospital, and they had a thing up there, almost like the what I call now a start of a clinic type thing. And my dad used to say, he says, old John and Joe, they go up there and it's a social hour for them, and they're there constantly. But anyways, that's that spiel. And one thing is proven fact, and they were talking, especially like our kids, the way we bring them up nowadays. And of course, they don't go outside. They're, more or less with electronics. But, if the parents or the mothers see them outside, and, don't play in that dirt, or don't do this, or, and everything. Well, it's proven fact, and we're doing it, and you wonder where this is going. You have to sanitize, but your immune system, you just don't build it up, and that's a big factor nowadays, why so many people get things. And that's my spiel. I tried to catch up with you guys on input. Hi, KUNE.
Do you remember what you were going to say, Steve?
My mind is completely shot. I can't remember anything. I even had something I wanted to say to Paul. This is what Paul kind of tipped me. I kind of got thinking about something Paul was talking about. My mom, I feel for my mom. She's 88. Of course, she's not in a nursing home or anything. She's still in the homestead. But I'll tell you, she's lonely. And I've tried to educate her. I said, Mom, if you go out in public, this is the way you have to operate. This is not, everything has changed. And of course, it's created a little fear, but I said, you'll be fine if you do this, and just be careful and don't take anything for granted. But it's hard when you're that age all it takes is one little slip up, right? And so she just decided, I'm not going out. I'm not going anywhere. And, so she relies on me, of course. And it's a lot of pressure. But I really feel for her, because she told me, she says, I'm lonely. And she's all alone. And I said, you're better off. I hate to say it. You're better off a little lonely than dead. You don't want to be in a nursing home. You don't want to be in any place like that around large groups of people. You just don't right now, and she's trying. I don't think she's truly come to grips with how dangerous this is for someone in her position. Because, most all the deaths that happened here in the state of Vermont were all in convalescent nursing homes and stuff like that. Assisted living facilities. Huge. The biggest initial outbreak we had was in an assisted living up in Burlington, up in Chittenden County, and that's like the biggest city in Vermont. It's a pretty good concentration of people. So, it's weird. But the doctors, I heard, who was I listening to? Was it one of you guys? Somebody went in for surgery, and the surgeons, they have all these, it's like pressure suits. They're jacked into something. It looks like something out of a nuclear holocaust. People walking around with Geiger counters on. That's what I heard. That's what surgery's like now, to protect themselves. What was I went to the dentist, had that tooth filling done, and what was it, last Friday? And boy, I'll tell you what, man, they are geared up. N95s, glasses, face shields, pretty much nothing exposed when I was in there. And which, if you think about it, dentistry, oh man, there's stuff flying out of your mouth all over the place. I'll tell you what, I got nothing but respect for dentists. Doctors are one thing, but dentists, how stuff, you can't wear a face covering. and you're breathing, and you got stuff, they're grinding away, and stuff's flying all over the place. I mean, that's nasty. Morbid. Go ahead, Jerry, K1GMM.
Oh, yeah, W1JWC. That's got to be the worst profession. I can't think of anything worse. God, how do you protect yourself from all of that? It's kind of scary. Good morning there, Paul. And Frank tells me that your noise is gone, so that's good.
Oh, cool.
Hope it stays that way. And I'm going to take a break for breakfast here. I'm really late. It's 7:30. I don't know if you guys are coming up on 7:30. I don't know if you guys are going to be around in 20 minutes or so, but I might jump back on. So let me pull out of here. Been a good conversation this morning. I wish more people would pay attention to what's going on out there. It is scary. It is really scary, and just don't know where it's all going to go. W1JWC will be clear. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, okay. I'll just say 7 trees. I got a story to tell about what Paul brought up, and we'll just to let everybody clear with you. Take care, Jerry. We'll talk to you a little bit later. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, Jerry, I will catch you later. Good to hear you. Yep, the noise. Even this morning, I ran it, spun it around, and that. So it had to be when, and it definitely was stronger when the other fellow was here. But yeah, it's it's quiet now.
Okay, Jerry. Well, we'll catch you later. I'm going to take a little standby too, but I'll wait for you, Frank, and you and Paul can pick it up. I'll be back though, because there's a couple. I had a question for you guys, and something I tried yesterday, which was an epic fail. It wasn't a real fail, but I'll get into it later. But I want to run something by you guys. See if I can tap the resources available. And Paul, yeah, good to hear you. Good signal coming in this morning. And good on the noise, by the way. So it was, and I'll wait for your response as well. Shoot it over to Frank. He can tell me what he say the story. I don't know who it was directed to. And then he can stick it over to you, and you can tell me if the noise was somebody in the campground or somebody around you that had left. That's the way it sounds to me. They left and the noise disappeared. So I'm very curious as to what that would have been. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, this is a WT1B, a medical story. I've had, ever since I turned 65, I had like about 5 operations in 5 consecutive years. Well, anyway, I went, of course, every time you have an operation, you need to get a pre-op. So they did a pre-op on me, my family doctor, and my blood, my pulse was turned up to be 45. Well, my normal pulse rate has always been around 50. You know, and everybody said you get the heart rate of an athlete or runner or something, which I never was.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
But it's
That's
always
pretty
been
good.
very low, and I keep telling everybody I'm saving
That's
them
really good
for later on in life when I really need them. So anyway, this is 45 this time. So he says, well, you better go see a cardiologist so we can at least verify this, so we can go on with this other minor operation. Well, I can't remember which one it was, but anyway, so I go to see. They set me up with this cardiologist. And he did all the tests, and he determined that the 45. It was, and by the time I got to him, it was like 52 or something. He says, "Oh, the low blood count for your pulse is normal for you, so there's nothing wrong with you. But I have found this aorta aneurysm. I think it was aorta or something. An aneurysm. So we need to do an ultrasound and." We need to do a stress test. Well, first of all, they started doing the stress test. Yeah, so I got a stress test from them every year for 5 years, and then they were doing the ultrasound on me for this aneurysm. So one year I go down, and lo and behold, this guy, he's gone. He's out of the country. He flew to Coop, and turned out he was scamming the government. He was scamming Medicare and you name it, and he's no longer to be found. So about a year later, I went to my family doctor and I said, well, maybe we better check for this aneurysm. So they sent me down somewhere else, down at the villages down here, to get tested. They said, what aneurysm? You don't have one. So that shows you what the scamming is. A lot of scamming, like Paul says, going on down here. You got to be careful. And I'm going to listen to what Paul has to say, and I want to make another copy before I come back. Go ahead, Paul. KUNEWT1B.
Well, like I say, and we just listen to people talk, and some of it's necessary, but so much of it is just, I call it license to steal. Yeah, things are quiet up here. I'm glad, and I think that it had a lot to do with the fella here, and if he was triggering something, I wonder, with the Wi-Fi and stuff, to make things change. I don't know what he had in there. I was just wondering, even I asked Frank about maybe he had a router in there and something else, and it was doing stuff. And who knows? But it's amazing how the difference across the whole band. And I haven't got it, and it wasn't the rain that was bothering it, because God knows we got rain, and even after it poured the other day when people were gone, or they were gone, and stuff. So that's the spiel. I'll flip it over to you, Steve. KU1E.
W2QEG.
Yeah, there's Carl in there. Good morning, Carl. You can pick it up with Paul. We're just gonna hopefully, Carl. You really quick, Carl. You gonna be in here for a bit because we're all just taking a break for some food. There, go ahead.
Yeah, you go right ahead. Matter of fact, I just finished my breakfast, and I'm on 2 meters sideband also. But I wanted to say good morning to everyone. And Paul, you still got a very nice. Everyone's got a good single here, but Paul, you got a very nice single in here. I know you run barefoot. I believe just about all the time, and so am I this morning. But go ahead, guys. Go do what you got to do. I'm listening in, and I'm on 2 meter sideband with a couple of guys. W2QEG. Good morning, all.
Okay, yeah, good morning, Carl. Great to hear you, and hopefully catch up with you. I don't know, 20 minutes or so. Jerry had just stepped out. Frank's going to step aside and do some stuff, and I guess a bunch of us are coming back, a few of us. Paul, stick around in here. I'm going to take a little sidestep, and boy, that's weird. I would love to know what was causing that. It almost makes me wonder if it was a really cruddy inverter. You know what I'm saying? Because I have, I just thought of this. I have a, what do they call that? It's an inverter generator. It's a cheap one. I didn't pay much money for it. It's about an 800 watt. 850 watt, I think, and I use it on the portable station, and I have to run EMI filters on that when it's connected to the power supply, because you would not believe the hash and trash that comes out of that thing. And yes, it does happen on 2 meters. Definitely, I can hear it on 2 meters and 6 meters. And I almost wonder if it was some kind of real cheap, because these cheap inverters, man, they're garbage. I've even heard guys have issues with some of the Hondas sometimes, so it almost makes you wonder if that's what was going on. Because the reason why I know this is I used to do a lot of VHF contesting. So, I'd run that inverter, and I'd have to choke the living daylights out of it, and then I had EMI filters installed at the point where the extension cord jacks into the inverter, It's just things about the size of a briefcase. Works great, but yeah, anything to do with radio around it, it's pretty rugged. All right, put it back to you, Paul. I think Frank stepped aside, and I'll be back in a little bit. Hopefully you stick around, Paul, and you too, Carl. See you in a bit. K1GMM.
Okay, yeah, and that's what our food of thought is. Frank has in his RV down there, or something, and he thinks the inverter bothers his setup, and he actually ran an extension cord outside to a box, and separately instead of going through his RV household, and it quieted things down.
Yep.
And I tried that
The inverter.
here, but obviously my inverter isn't bothering anything. But yeah, it could very well be, and that was one of the main things, and I would bet on that. I agree with you, and go from there. So, and Carl, I'm copying Carl. He's very light in here. I'm transmitting better than I'm receiving, but I did hear him in there, and we'll go from there. And after, Steve, quick question, and I'll let you go, and I'll talk about it after. Are you up in Randolph, Vermont?
No, I'm way south of there, Paul. I'm just north of Manchester. I sit literally right between Manchester and Rutland, right on the Route 7 corridor, about 14 miles north of Manchester. So you come up from Bennington into Manchester, and then 14 miles north, that's where I am, and I can see Route 7 from my door. So I'm right on the valley floor here in the main corridor. Randolph's, yeah, that's a haul from here. And yeah, you're 20 over. Carl was pretty light. He was really light. I had to open everything up, but it's no problem. I had a good copy on him. I can hear him. Yep, that inverter. I don't know why I didn't even think of that, Paul, because I've been down that road with that little Jenny. There's these, what do you call them? They're EMI filters. You can get them out of New York State. They're here. The guy, he's really good. They're not expensive. I can't remember what I paid for them. I got 2 of them. And I think you can get them with all different ranges. You know what I'm saying? So you basically tune it for the range, have the system tuned. And they're just they're a little metal box, and they got flanges on them. You can screw them to a wall, or, I don't know, inside another box, or stick them on something, a post. And basically, you bring your AC leads into it, your hot, neutral, and ground, and then you have a hot and neutral which comes out. And they work pretty good. They're pretty good. Let me put it this way. It goes from unusable to totally usable. I can still hear it if I don't run a noise blanker. But, oh, yeah, without it, forget it, man. I can't hear anything. So, yeah, let me duck out of here. And I do hear it sounds like the house is up, so I'll go check in up there, and I'll be back. K1E, K1GMM. See you in a bit there, Paul.
Okay, fine business. K1E listening.
Everything in standby here. Shut the power off. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and kill the stream, and I'll be back because this is all going to be kind of silly from here on out. What I'm going to be doing is I was running the 7300 last night, and I'm going to be doing, I have some thoughts regarding the Anon versus the 7300. It's probably going to piss a lot of people off, but I don't care because you know me. I'm going to go through the main differences between the radios and in fairly good detail, and I'm going to title it appropriately, and it's going to annoy some people probably, and it's going to make others very, very happy. And I don't care. So this is just what I'm finding out. Let me put it this way. Would I spend $3,000 for an Anon? Hell no. Or any other SDR for that matter. Not a chance in hell. I didn't pay that for it. I paid half of that for it, which was a heck of a deal for this radio, considering when they first hit the market, they were about $4,400. But I have some interesting things to share. I'll see you guys later. Have a super fun day. Anybody still watching the stream, and we will catch you somewhere, sometime. Not sure what my day's got planned, what I have planned, but because I don't have any plans yet, but I'm coming up with them. We'll see you later. 7-3 gang.